Snow began falling before sunrise, light at first and then thicker, as if the sky was slowly closing in on the quiet town in Vermont, and inside the warm but uneasy house, Daniel stood near the front door holding his gloves while watching his older brother Mark rush through last-minute plans, speaking fast about flights, meetings, and how the trip would only be for a few days, though everyone knew those words had been said before. Christmas music played softly from the radio, but it felt out of place, almost mocking the moment, because Mark was leaving on Christmas week, and Daniel had not planned to stay at all, yet here he was, nodding, helping carry a bag, pretending this was normal, while Emma stood a few steps back near the hallway, quiet, polite, and holding herself together with careful calm, her smile gentle but thin, the kind people wear when they don't want others to worry. When Mark finally hugged Daniel and thanked him for staying behind just in case, Daniel felt a strange weight settle in his chest, because he knew he was not staying just for the house, and as the front door closed and the car disappeared into the falling snow, the silence inside became heavy, not empty but full of things unsaid, memories hanging in the air like the smell of pine from the Christmas tree, and Daniel suddenly became aware of how alone they were together, two adults tied to the same family but living very different lives. Emma broke the quiet first, offering coffee with a soft voice, and they moved into the kitchen like strangers learning the shape of a space they both already knew, speaking politely about the weather, the roads, how fast winter had come this year, while Daniel noticed small things, the tired look in her eyes, the way she paused before speaking, how carefully she chose her words, and he realized this Christmas was not only lonely for him. They sat across from each other at the table meant for many people, plates untouched, decorations glowing, and the house seemed too big, filled with echoes of laughter from years before, when Mark was always home and Emma still believed Christmas meant togetherness without effort. Daniel felt pulled between comfort and discomfort, wanting to help, wanting to leave, wanting to say something kind but not knowing what would be safe, because Emma was his brother's wife and the lines mattered, even when feelings tried to blur them. And as evening came and the snow piled higher against the windows, Daniel understood this was not just a visit anymore but the start of something uncertain, something quiet and emotional, something that would test his heart long before Christmas morning arrived. The days after Mark left passed in a rhythm that felt both familiar and strange, as Daniel and Emma moved around the house with careful coordination, cooking meals together, washing dishes side by side, and slowly filling the silence with small talk that became more personal with each passing hour. And at first, they spoke of safe topics, work deadlines, old family memories, favorite holiday movies, but gradually the conversation deepened, revealing fears and regrets that neither had shared with anyone else. Emma spoke about how lonely she sometimes felt even when surrounded by people, about the way she worried that her life with Mark was moving too fast and leaving her behind, while Daniel admitted to his own struggles with failed relationships and missed chances, the feeling of always being the one who stayed when others moved on, and in the quiet evenings, they found themselves laughing at the same jokes, catching glances that lingered too long, and feeling a warmth that was comforting yet dangerous, because it blurred boundaries neither wanted to cross. One night, a snowstorm knocked out the power, and they lit candles around the living room, the flickering light making the shadows dance across the walls and filling the space with an intimacy that surprised them both. And as they sat near the fireplace, sipping cocoa and sharing stories about childhood hopes, unspoken thoughts hovered in the air, almost tangible, as if the storm outside mirrored the tension between them, a mixture of longing, understanding, and caution. And though neither acted on it, the closeness of their hands, the softness in their voices, and the moments when their eyes met left a memory that neither could ignore, a quiet reminder that Christmas had created a fragile bubble where emotions could surface safely but also dangerously. And Daniel, lying awake that night, realized he was standing on emotional ground he had never intended to explore, a place where care and attraction intertwined, leaving him both excited and guilty. And Emma, in her own room, stared at the falling snow outside, thinking of how strange and tender it was to feel truly seen by someone who was not meant to change her life, yet somehow had. And as the storm continued and the world outside became a white blur, both understood that the days ahead would be delicate, full of unsaid words and quiet tensions, a dance of hearts in a house designed for comfort but now charged with unspoken emotion that neither knew how to handle, yet neither could ignore. Christmas Eve arrived with a calm that felt heavier than the falling snow outside. and Daniel and Emma moved through the house with a strange mixture of ease and tension, baking cookies together in the kitchen, the warmth of the oven filling the room and soft smells of cinnamon and chocolate wrapping around them like a quiet comfort, as they joked and teased, stealing bites and laughing at small mistakes. But beneath the laughter, both felt the weight of the unspoken. How much this holiday, meant for family and joy, had become an emotional turning point neither had anticipated. Later, they settled by the fireplace, the lights of the Christmas tree blinking softly and casting gentle shadows, and Emma spoke in a low voice about how she hadn't expected to feel this connected to someone outside of her marriage, how she appreciated Daniel's company more than she could safely admit, and Daniel listened, his heart tightening at every word, understanding the depth of her loneliness, her longing, and the unspoken boundaries that kept them from crossing lines they both knew existed, yet felt increasingly drawn toward breaking. The conversation meandered between memories of past holidays, dreams for the future, and the quiet acknowledgement of feelings they could not act upon, each sentence carrying both warmth and tension, each glance lingering just a moment too long, making the air between them thick with emotion. And though neither spoke words of love, the closeness, the almost touch of their hands, the way their eyes met across the flickering light, created a charged intimacy that neither could ignore. Daniel wrestled with the pull in his chest, knowing that expressing his feelings could hurt Emma, Mark, and even himself, and yet the desire to comfort her, to stay close in this fragile, snowy world, was almost unbearable, while Emma felt torn between loyalty and longing, the quiet firelight highlighting the conflict in her eyes as she realized how much she trusted Daniel, how much she wanted to lean on him, yet understood the dangers of doing so. As the night stretched on, they shared a silence that spoke louder than words, the kind of silence where hearts communicate in glances and subtle gestures, where the warmth of the room contrasted with the cold outside, and both recognized that this Christmas Eve had become a moment suspended in time, a memory that would remain even when Mark returned. And despite the tension and almost romantic pull, Daniel made a choice to honor the boundaries, to protect Emma, and to step back emotionally, knowing that love sometimes means restraint, that connection does not always lead to action, and that this night, beautiful and tender, would be a memory of what might have been, held gently and respectfully in their hearts, a moment of emotional truth wrapped in holiday light, warmth, and quiet longing. The morning after Christmas arrived with soft sunlight reflecting off the snow, and Daniel moved through the house with a quiet heaviness, packing his bag while the scent of fresh pine from the tree and lingering cookie crumbs reminded him of the nights spent laughing and talking with Emma, memories that now felt both warm and bittersweet. Emma stood by the door, watching him carefully, her expression a mixture of gratitude, sadness, and something unspoken that neither dared to name, and when she spoke, her voice was calm but layered with emotion, telling him he did not have to leave so soon, that she had grown used to his presence and that the house felt emptier already. And Daniel looked at her, feeling the weight of every unsaid word between them, understanding the depth of the bond they had quietly formed over the past days, a bond that had been tested by boundaries, loyalty, and unspoken attraction, yet had remained respectful, tender, and emotionally profound. He told her softly that he needed to leave, that returning to his own life was necessary. Yet his tone carried a warmth and care that reflected how difficult it was to step away, and when they hugged, it was long, heartfelt, and careful, a physical acknowledgement of connection without overstepping, a silent promise that their shared moments would be remembered and cherished but never misused. And as he walked to the car, he felt the pang of longing and the weight of restraint, knowing he had chosen the harder, right path even though it left a quiet ache in his chest. Later, Mark called, cheerful and unaware, thanking Daniel for staying behind and helping Emma during the holidays, and Daniel smiled faintly, hiding the complex feelings that had built in the quiet of the house, feeling relief, satisfaction, and sadness all at once. And when he returned home, a letter from Emma awaited him, her handwriting familiar and steady, expressing gratitude, describing how she and Mark were working on their marriage, how she valued Daniel's kindness and strength, and though she carefully maintained boundaries, she acknowledged that their time together had meant more than words could say, leaving Daniel to fold the letter with care, feeling the warmth of connection and the ache of absence simultaneously. As days turned into months, the memories of that snowy Christmas lingered, quiet but vivid, a reminder of emotional closeness, self-restraint, and the kind of love that is not always meant to be lived openly but remembered tenderly. And Daniel realized that some Connections are meant to shape the heart without altering the course of life, that some love stories exist in the spaces between words, in glances, in shared laughter and warmth, and that this Christmas, with its quiet snow, intimate conversations, and lingering touches, had changed him, had shown him the beauty of care, restraint, and respect, leaving him with a memory that would last forever, a gentle, emotional imprint of what could have been, held safely in his heart, powerful in its quietness, and beautiful in its restraint.